Отже, ми розпочинаємо.
Я хочу всіх привітати. Сьогодні ми розпочинаємо перший пітчинг лабораторії українського доку. І я дуже вдячна всім, хто присутній сьогодні, під'єднався до нас як учасники, так і експерти і глядачі. Рік тому прийшла ідея створення лабораторії, і я дуже вдячна своїм колегам Надії Грачовій та Валентині Тужині, які підтримали цю скажену ідею, і дуже вдячна Мікаелю Опструпу, який також відгукнувся на нас, і завдяки якому ми мали цю чудову можливість підтримати 5 проєктів, які були відібрані нашими експертами, і дати їм зараз шанс презентувати для широкої аудиторії свої майбутні фільми. Я сподіваюся, що вони всі будуть реалізовані, бо вони цікаві і чудові. І також я дуже вдячна, що до нас долучився величезний партнер Харків Мідокс, який має сьогодні відкриття. Ми трошки згодом про це поговоримо. Зі свого власного досвіду, з досвіду колег, знаю, наскільки це важливо починати проєкт на стадії девелопменту, отримувати підтримку. Бо, на жаль, в Україні дуже обмаль фондів, які займаються фінансуванням та підтримкою проєктів саме на цій стадії, а ця стадія дуже важлива для проєктів, тому що від цієї підтримки залежить, чи відбудеться в майбутньому фільм. І тому я дуже вдячна всім, хто долучився, і що ми маємо таку амбітну мету на українському кіноринку створити спільне середовище саме для того, щоб нові українські фільми з'являлися не лише в Україні, не лише для українського ринку, а для міжнародного ринку. І я сподіваюся, що в майбутньому ми будемо продовжувати цей проєкт. У нас теж є цікавинки і плани, тож слідкуйте за нами. А зараз я хочу передати слово своїй колезі Надії Грачовій, яка розповість трошки детальніше про наші проекти і що буде відбуватися сьогодні.
Доброго дня, шановні колеги. Я хочу подякувати всім присутнім. Серед нас і провідні режисери, і продюсери, і кінокритики, і представники фондів, кінофестивалі, а також телеканали. Хочу відмітити, що незважаючи на те, що наша лабораторія існує всього декілька місяців, нам все ж таки вдалося зібрати дуже круту та професійне оточення. А це що означає? Означає, що за останні роки українське кіно дуже швидко розвивається. Завдяки тому, що змінюються формати навчання і взагалі змінюється співпраця. Ми по-інакшому спілкуємося один з одним. І у нас з'являються можливості все більше прокачати свої знання та навички з міжнародними експертами. І не тільки теоретично, а в більшості випадків практично, що дає набагато кращі результати. Що відбувалося
So what has happened throughout these 2 months of our work? We had the individual and public session led by Mikael Opstrup. And I would like to remind you that Mikael Opstrup is one of the leading experts on preparatory sessions and pre-production work for documentary films, for the films that are in pre-production or in development. We had more than 50 applications for our participation in the lab. And after the expert evaluation, we only have selected 5 projects that are going to be presented today for the broader audience. The films will be presented for the broader audience, and we will follow this process closely. That is an incredible feeling, and I would like to say that it's an incredible feeling when you can see the projects changing, you can see them transforming, you can see the emphasis in characters being changed. The topic of the films is going to become clearer, so trust me, after working with Mikael, all of the project has remade their teasers, and even 2 projects have changed the main title of their films. I would like to also acknowledge the really high quality of the applications that we've had in the individual sessions with Mikael. And as Polina has already said, our main partner, Harkiv Middogs, should have selected only 2 projects, but after the application that Harkiv Middogs received, they're going to select 6 projects, and we're going to mention those projects slightly later. And on the 1st of October, in the framework of the industrial section in mid-film industry, Ukrainian producers and directors are going to be presenting their project in front of the international jury. During the projects and during the pitch, we would like to ask you not to turn on your cameras. not turn off you, but please keep your microphone muted if you're not speaking. We'll be providing 15 minutes for each presentation, 7 minutes for pitching and 8 minutes for questions and answers. So it's very important for our teams to have feedback. So please, dear experts, be very active. Mikael Opstrup was going to be the moderator for the pitching. We'll have the simultaneous interpretation available, so you'll be able to present either in English or in Ukrainian. So please, I'll pass the floor to Valentina Tuzhina. And the mic is not on. Okay, thank you, Nadia. And I would like to once again mention and once again highlight what Nadia has said, that we had 3 lectures by Mikael Opstrup for the general audience on whether on elements of pitching, on markets and forms of pitching. We had the discussion of the film with Maxim Nakonechny and the director Alina Horlova, that This Rain Will Never Stop. And we had also discussed the Home Games film and the film that is currently being developed, Expedition 49, directed by Alisa Kovalenko and produced by Stefan Sion. And I just want to emphasize once again that our lab overall has this opportunity, has been held and has been supported by the Ukrainian Cultural Fund, together with the partnership of Kharkiv Mid-Doc Festival, the State Film Agency of Ukraine, our informational partners as well, Ukrainian Directors Guild, Terrarium, the educational platform, and the film platform Sweet TV. And now I would like to pass the floor to Serhiy Bukovsky. But the mic is still off. Just yes, turned off the mic. Okay, so good morning, everyone. I'm really pleased to be here today and to be present here at this event as well. It's very interesting for me as well what has been done during these 2 months of the work with those projects that have been selected, what the transformation that has happened to those projects as well. The overall level of the projects that have been selected was a very good one. There were just a couple of 2 projects, 2 or 3 projects that are mostly directed for television. Maybe they're not that much fitting in here, but all the other projects were really good and they were really interesting. And I know that it's a very subjective thing when we are selecting films and we're selecting certain projects for the further own participation in the lab, and we're providing some high points or low points overall. But I do believe that all of the projects that have been selected, they have a good chance of becoming really good films in the end. And I'll be honest with saying that I'm really interested in what has happened to this projects after working with Mikael, what transformation has happened on the level of the idea of a teaser, or that's definitely going to be very interesting. What I would like to say as well, that basically this kind of lab has been born, and this idea that this lab has been born is a very good thing to happen, because currently there's a lot of things have changed, and a lot of things have changed on working with an idea. It used to be a very closed project between directors and authors. So right now this project become more public, and right now we can see that the project is now more available through internet. It is now available for everyone. It is very important for the future of the project, because when we were only working solely with one another, when we were only working in our own hub, in our own silo, when we never has stepped outside of our own offices or our own rooms, that's something that used to be before. Right now, the times have changed. And right now, it is the right direction of work. It is the right way to do and to develop our ideas is to share. It is the best way for us to be sharing the ideas. Then the project has all of the opportunities to be known, to be noticed, and it would be much easier, at least in my opinion, it would be much easier to promote the project in the future when the film is going to be created overall. I have a couple of questions maybe to some of the authors, and I hope I will be able to voice out those questions during the pitch, and we will do that slightly later. But overall, I would like to say that that has been a very right thing to do. And Nadia has mentioned Ukrainian market, that Ukrainian market is not really huge in Ukraine, and documentary filmmaking market is not really huge, but it's non-existent market. So when we're speaking about the industry of Ukrainian film, there's no industry. We have a film process that has been born, fortunately has been born, and has taken out of the really great and deepest edge and deepest gap. So this is now only the tryouts to provide the Ukrainian documentary films with a new environment, not given the opportunity to the films not to fall into this gap again. And I'm really happy that we're all here together in a very weird way. So, I can see everyone, but I'm speaking to my phone, but it is yet again the detail of our post-COVID times. Thank you. Thank you, Sarhi. And I would like to invite our another expert, Volodymyr Voitenko, and pass the floor to him as well. So, Volodymyr, please, the floor is yours. But please make sure you will turn on your mic. Bogdan, can you please help us with turning the mic on? Yes, now we can hear you. Yes, please. Good. Good morning, everyone. I would like to support Serhiy Bukovsky on everything that he has said, because basically we know that we do not have lots of film industry, but we have the film process going on. And basically we have this film process going on for the last decade. We can measure it in a different ways, and we can think about that in a different way, whether you like or not, of what has been created and what has been made. But we have known that in Ukraine, on our screens, we have seen Ukrainian films, and in international film festivals, the Ukrainian films have shown it in the best way. We have some films already there. There is multiple films on that. And we have seen some other projects that have been also invited to this lab and to this competition. And unfortunately, out of those, due to some reasons, I won't be able to participate in this conversation, unfortunately, and maybe won't be able to participate in the discussion. But I would like to say that for me, considering the very perspective projects out of the ones that we have considered, or at least I've considered as well, I wouldn't say that not just 5, there's more from those applicants. And I would agree to what he said as well, that basically we can speak of some of the projects that might not be fit in this project and this lab in some different way. Maybe they are more of a fiction film, would fit better in a fiction film than in a documentary. But I do hope that most of these projects will be continuing in their development, and they will be seen on the final screen. So these projects are very different, just as all of us are. We are carrying of different things. We are very different. There's different topics that are interesting for us, from very intimate topics up to the very general topics. And it's very interesting and very great. So when we speak about documentaries, that is the most important thing, why Ukrainian documentaries can be very perspective. So that would be my introductory words. And I would like to once again to wish everyone not to be very disappointed, no matter what kind of results are going to happen to all of the people who are presenting their films today. So please be brave, continue your work. And some words to the people who haven't been selected to this lab. Maybe there might be a broader number of people who would be participating then. So keep on working on what you believe in. And I would like to say that your projects are worthy. Your projects are interesting. If you care about your projects, I'm sure you will be able to find the needed financial support to make those projects happen. I hope that the people who will see your films, they will care as well. I wish you all the best. God bless. Good luck. Thank you, Volodymyr. We hope that it will not only be the 5 projects, but more projects will be implemented and will be turned into films as the result of our lab. Well, I would also like to introduce you with our partners. Please welcome Alexandra Sorokhan and Dmitro Suholet-Kisupchuk. They are the people who have also created an incredible space, a platform that is called Terrarium, and the platform that gives the opportunity for the directors, for the screenwriters to support their project. So Alexandra and Dmitro, we would like to hear from you as well. I can see that you are here with us. Please unmute your mics, turn your mics on. Yes, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pleased to see the colleagues, the ones that I know and the one who I don't know yet. I would like to wish all the best of luck for everyone during the pitching. And I would like to also mention some of the development projects that what we do during the terrarium sessions. That's one of the most important processes that exist there to make film happen. It doesn't really matter whether it's going to be a fiction film or documentary film or whether it's an experimental film or whatever. So it doesn't really matter. Development is crucially important. And the importance of this process, especially for myself, I have actually understood the importance of this project during my studies and the university in the film school. And when I was also visiting different workshops, I have had a clearer understanding that the kind of a developing platform is needed here in our space as well. And of course, this kind of platform is important for the directors who work on their project, especially who work on the documentary projects. It is important to have this opportunity to present your projects to, first of all, a narrow circle of people, to the people you trust, to the people who are already the professionals in this sector, who have some reputation in this sector, who know. And especially for the documentaries now, I understand why do you need a teaser, unlike in the fiction film, because everything might change and it's a living process when you're making a documentary, an ever-changing process. So that is why the documentary films, it's always interesting to make documentaries. It's just as interesting in making documentaries as making fiction film. It's just a slightly different way of making it. It is always a vivid, living process that you have to show to someone, that you have to discuss with someone, so that some of your colleagues, maybe more experienced colleagues or just colleagues on the same level as you, your peer colleagues, would give you some feedback on that, to give you some of the advice and the feedback that will give you the opportunity to keep moving forward with your projects. So I'm sure that this platform, UkrDocLab, is a good initiative, and I would like to wish all the best and all the successes to the people who have participated in the first edition of this platform, and let the film happen. Thank you, Alexandra. Maybe you would like to add up something to that. Well, yes, I hope that you can hear me well. I would like to thank you for the invitation, and I believe that it's a really great initiative and a great lab that is needed in Ukraine. I'm really happy that we are the partners and the informational partners for the Ukrainian Laboratory for Documentary Films. First of all, I would like to wish all the best and all the best of luck to all of the people who are going to be pitching today, because we know what pitchings are. Starting from 2018, we also we started our project on script writing. Then at the end of the year, our participants, they also have the opportunity to pitch their project. We know how much efforts does that take. We know how nervous people are. And I would like to say, even though we do not work with the documentary filmmakers, because we basically work with scripts, especially scripts to the fiction films, I would like to say that starting from 2018, we have launched a program that has been built on individual work, basically. So one mentor would be supporting people participating in a project for 4, 5, 6 months. And after that, we have a script being born of the film. And I would like to say that we have had more than 100 participants who have been through this program, and we are planning to work further on with other sectors of filmmaking, with documentary filmmaking as well. So I'm sure there's going to be a very productive partnership and good collaboration collaboration established. And I do hope that in future we will be able to keep on developing this sector more and more, and that we will be together in order to get the joint results. Thank you very much. I wish you all the best and good pitching.
Thank you, Alexandra. Thank you, Dmitro. And also we have Alexander Kleimenov with us, who's the head of the TV and cinema projects of the Transformation Communication Agency, which is funded by the United States AID. And with the support of this project, we have the grant project of socially important content, PITCH-UA. So, Alexandra, the floor is yours. Hello. And thank you so much for the invitation from the Laboratory of Ukrainian Documentaries for this pitching. We know as well what pitching is because the competition which we conduct has the name of PITCH-UA. And I think that lots of the participants have heard about it. Maybe some of you have already applied. Maybe you're planning to apply with the projects which we will hear even today, which will be presented at the pitching. Our competition is based on grants, so thanks to it, the applicants get in the end of the day what they need most of all, mostly, that is money. And those are rather substantial grants. We are supporting the full cycle of the production of the project and also the development process, because we have some of the projects which are funded 100% during the process of development and the creation of the pilot episode. But we, PITCH-UA, is the competition of the socially important content. What does that mean? That is so important for us that the projects communicate and make people aware about the socially important issues, would open the people's eyes for the processes going on in the society, for the audience which maybe haven't even thought about some issue, after seeing this content could not only think on it, but also could change their opinion. So that is why it's so important for us, for the creators of the content to understand instantly what's the audience and how they are planning to achieve this audience with their product. We are supporting projects of any genres for the TV and the cinema and online. Those are feature films and fiction films and TV series, animation films and documentaries, of course, as both are which consist of many episodes and just one-time documentary. It's so important for us that in the concept of the application, for it to be mentioned how the project creators are planning to reach the audience. I can share my own impression. For the creators of the documentaries, rather often this is the most complicated thing, because the audience of the documentary films is very peculiar. It is not that broad, and rather often in the plans which we can see in the applications, we understand that the creators of the content don't know how to achieve a wider audience, and rather often they are just limiting themselves, speaking with the part of the audience which already is sharing those thoughts and is interested in these issues. So it's not that easy to expect that something will change in the minds of the audiences. So think about that. If you apply for the next competition of PITCH-UA, think about that. And also all of our projects are getting doctoring from the international Hollywood and European experts. We conduct the events within our educational platform. Those are workshops which are taking place rather often because of the events which are taking place in real life in the TV and cinema industry. For instance, the latest workshop was conducted in Lviv during Lviv Media Forum, and the first June workshops were conducted within Molodist Film Festival. So please visit our website, pitchua.com, where you can find all the information about the competition and the events of the educational platform. I wish all of the participants success. Thank you so much. And I think that now we can begin the pitching itself. And all of the rest of the experts will join us with their comments after the presentation of the 5 projects. So now I give the floor to Mr. Mikael Opstrup.
A warm welcome from me as well. Being the only one sitting in Denmark, from all you present. But as you understand, I have been talking to the 5 film teams for the last week, so many times. So I almost feel that I have been in Ukraine, which I actually never have. So it's a big pleasure for me. But we will start the pitching, as you said. Could I ask everyone to help me out a little? Because I don't know the decision makers. So it would be a big help for me if you can all make sure that you have your names written in the Zoom window. That would be wonderful for me. A second thing is that I cannot see everyone on my screen because there's only room for a certain number in a Zoom window. So when we get to the discussion after the presentations, please raise your hand if you have something you want to say, so that I know that you would like to say something. You can raise your hand physically, or as I'm sure you know, in these Zoom times, there's also the reaction button at the bottom of your screen, where you can also click raise your hand, so that I know that you would like to say something. As mentioned, we have 15 minutes per project. The first half is the presentation from the film team, and the second half is questions or comments from you decision makers who are here present in the panel. So let's start. I will start with the first presentation of the project called A Bit Stranger. And I would like the director Svetlana and the producer Oksana to take the floor and present the project. Over to you, please.
Hello. Today I am representing the film A Bit of a Stranger, because it even changed the name during the laboratory. So it is at the early development stage. And first of all, we are interested in the search of funding during the pitching and the opportunity to present our project. We consider that our project is so important for our country, as Ukraine for 30 years is independent, and there are lots of discussions what our identity is. The events of Russian-Ukrainian war are really making this discussion acute. This is a very necessary project for our country, first of all, but I hope that it will be interesting for the foreign audience as well, in particular for the countries of Eastern Europe who have some common historical past. The film director and the author of the project is Svetlana Lishchinsky. In fact, went along and toured in the whole world and was shown at the headquarters of NATO, the European Council, and also the parliaments of Canada and lots of other, and it helped to expand the women's rights in the army. Now I give the floor to Svetlana herself, and she will present our project. Hello. I would like to thank UkrDocLab for an opportunity. I do hear myself. Svetlana, would you turn on your mic? Oh, right. Okay, just a moment. Do you hear me now? Yes, we do. So you can speak. Yes. So I'd like to express my gratitude to the laboratory, because our project has substantially changed. Even the name has changed. Now it has the name A Bit of a Stranger. So why does it have such a name? Because that's about the people who, for Russians, are considered to be Ukrainians, but for the Ukrainians, not totally nice Ukrainians. I was born during the Soviet times, and I was born in Mariupol at the Russified east of Ukraine, where I got to know with the world, and I was shaped as a personality there. Unfortunately, in my family, we didn't have any dissidents or people with critical thinking, so Russian propaganda narratives were perceived as total truth by me. So in the Soviet Union, there have been created, as we all know, the type of the people without the national memory, Homo Sovieticus. And I consider that me and my family are the bright representatives, and it's scary, in fact. When I grew up, the Soviet Union split, and I found myself in the independent Ukraine. Of course, I got the citizenship of the new country, but I did not become a Ukrainian. I didn't feel any nationality in myself. So I don't understand what nationality is. In Europe, nationality is defined as a citizenship. And in Ukraine, it is belonging to some cultural ethnical group. During the Russian Empire, the nationality was defined by your religious beliefs and language. If I shaped myself in the cultural ethnical group of Russian people, which then national belonging I have? This was the question which I asked myself, and I would like to research the consequences of propaganda which are shown and reflecting themselves in dozens of years. I've got lots of questions, and I need to find the answers not only for myself, but for many people like me, the inhabitants of the east of Ukraine. The protagonists of the family will be my family, 4 generations of women, my mom, who remembers how her grandmother was speaking Ukrainian, me and my daughter, who grew up in Ukraine, but totally in the under the impact of Russia, and my granddaughter, who is still getting to know how to speak. So would you show the teaser? Let us watch the teaser now. At the Independence Square, the special forces of the armed forces of Ukraine.
Вот мы учим историю Украины там в школе, в институте. Я смотрю на эту Галицько-Волинську державу, я понимаю, что все это меня, ну как-то меня не касается немного, да?
Слушай, ба, ну вот если бы снег не пошел, ну уже высохло все, и началась бы весна.
Русифікація – це не заміна мови, а заміна свідомості світогляду. Хіба не так? Мова інформації – це, власне, та зброя, якою можна поневолити країну.
Я чувствую людей Западной Украины, ну мы с ними разные, совсем мы разные с ними, вот 2 разных национальности. Я всегда вот так же, я их слушаю, я понимаю, что я недоукраинка. Я смотрю на русских и понимаю, что какая-то недорусская, типа там я хохлушка, а тут я недоукраинка. То есть у меня состояние, я никто.
Нет? Да? Скажи «да». Да. Стефі, скажи «да». Да-да.
Ти відчуваєш національність, ідентифікацію власну? Відчуваєш?
Я обожаю, ты же знаешь, свой Мариуполь. Я даже его трубы грязный воздух люблю. Да, вон он нашла, да, вот он туда спрятался, туда домик спрятался.
So, looking at the example of my own family, I would like to show the people without a national identity. I'd like to understand what it can lead to. I would like to find and to restore our own identity, if it is possible. I am planning to go to Mariupol and to understand how the inhabitants of the east of Ukraine identify themselves. I'd like to research the traditions, the culture of Mariupol inhabitants, my relatives, my acquaintances, and to understand why we are like that. I'm planning to shoot the daily life, their cuisine and celebrations and traditions, if they have traditions, or the lack of traditions, if they don't have any. We have the plans to shoot the Soviet archives, letters, audio recordings, and to understand why still it was possible to create a military invasion. Why we consider the inhabitants of East and me, myself, Ukrainians. What makes us Ukrainians? I'd like to find the people in Mariupol who ask the same questions as I do. And I know that I will find them at the free Ukrainian language courses, where people remember themselves, they're reminiscent, and this is the issue, that they consider themselves nobody. They are neither Ukrainian nor Russian. They pose those questions among the visitors of these courses, the attendants. And the apotheosis of this whole story is the 9th of May, because this is the celebration, the holiday for lots of people in Mariupol. Some people celebrate the Soviet Victory Day in the World War. Others celebrate the 9th of May as the day of liberation of Russia from our Russian occupation. And also on the 9th of May, Mariupol, for lots of years, begins the beach season. So I would like to create the full-scale portrait of the inhabitants of Donetsk region and to help to create more understanding between two parts of Ukraine which have diverse, different historical paths.
На даному етапі ми плануємо зйомки в Маріуполі в листопаді.
At this stage, we are planning the fundraising campaign, and we will search for all of the opportunities to fund the projects. Thank you. I would like to add that the projects are at the stage of the early development, so we now are searching for funding, but it does not stop us in the process of shooting, not that often and not that quickly, but some of the events in my family or my trip to Mariupol are planned to be done. We will do that with our own funding to create some of the footage and to change it and to create more. And next time when we apply for the pitching of the State Film Agency or Pitch UA, for us to have some more material and footage. Thank you. And if there are any questions, I would happily answer them.
Thank you. Can we go back to gallery view, please, so that I can see people?
Уберіть, зараз я як презентацію мене обрати.
So that we don't have the presentation. There we go. Thank you very much. I would like to open for comments and questions now. Unfortunately, the presentation was not 7 minutes, but 11 minutes. So we don't have a lot of time. This is one of my unfortunate tasks as a moderator to make sure that we keep the schedule. Are there any of you decision makers who are present who have a question or a comment? Then please raise your hand and unmute yourself.
Hello.
I have.
Yes, please. Alina?
Yes. I would like to speak Ukrainian. I think you have translation, yeah?
It's okay. I have a simultaneous translation, so that's fine.
Okay. Amazing.
So, really, I really liked the pitch itself, in spite of it to be a bit longer. And in some of the moments, as for me, the information was repeating itself. But still, the overall impression, I really understood everything about the projects. I understand what this film will be about. For this stage of development, it is a very nice level of understanding. And what I really liked is the personal attitude of Svetlana to this topic. So I do apologize. Yeah. It seems to me that the best thing what I saw out of what I saw is the personal attitude of Svetlana, of the film director. That's what I felt.
Дякую, Олені.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you very
Elena.
much, Alina. Thank you very much. Anyone else who has a comment or a question? Yes, please, Mitro. You need to unmute yourself, Mitro.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation. Yes, I do understand that it is right now at this very early stage of development, and you have just started your working on your research during your project. But what I might say, just like for me, that wasn't really clear whether your family lives in Mariupol. So that's whether you're just visiting Mariupol. So that wasn't a clear idea for me whether you live there or no. So I just didn't understand from your presentation whether the life of your protagonists is connected to the life of Mariupol, of the city itself. Then again, if we speak about the speech itself, then what it would be very interesting for me to outline the priority of your tasks, because one thing is just to understand what Homo Sovieticus is, and what is working with the issues of memory, and the other thing is what you have said from the very beginning about understanding the roots of the possible conflicts in the East. You're just outlining that, but how do you see that in the further on development? Because I do understand that it is going to be about the author's essay, and I understand that this is the main moment of that you are the main author who was providing us with the story. So basically, okay, let me reshape it. I would mostly concentrate on the development of event, but not by telling us about the context, because the context is important for us, yes, but that would be much more important for me what the action is about, what the film will be about. So yes, okay, there will be the trip to Mariupol, you're coming to Mariupol, but like who's going to be there? Yes, please. Who's going to be getting into those situations and details in Mariupol? That will be built around my personal story. So basically, because right now, maybe we will going to make some footage already, maybe something will change. But right now, so what I can be responsible for, it will be my personal story, and all of the construction is going to be based on my personal understanding of why we are the way we are, what my mother is, and why my mother still remembers her grandmother who had lived before the revolution in 1918. She knows even more than my daughter, who was born. She comes from a different generation than my daughter that was born in the independent Ukraine already. And I also want to see the overall environment that my community that I live in, my relatives that live in Mariupol. I have a friend that I'm not talking to, but I'm planning to see her because, you know, she's a supporter of the Moscow Orthodox Church, and her brother has been, you know, involved in spoiling Ukrainian flag, and I have some relatives who come to Russia and see nothing bad about that. I have never considered it as a bad thing. I have relatives who have come from the occupied territories and who currently reside in Kiev. So basically, I don't know what to do about that, because I think that
Svetlana, you have to start winding up. You're way over time.
Швидше, да, все. Все, я час
Okay, I think I'm out of time already, but okay, basically just to wrap up this answer, everything is going to be built on my research of my identity. So that is what I'm going to be doing by meeting different people.
Okay, thank you very much. This is what we had time for, and as you can see, 15 minutes is not a lot, but that's how it is with presentations. Everybody have heard your presentation, Svetlana. I'm sure that if people want to get in contact with you about your project, they will do that, although we didn't have time for so many comments here. So thanks for that. And then we'll move on to the next presentation of Dacha Bracha on the road. And we have Anna, the director, and Oksana, the producer, with us. As you can see, I'm only pronouncing first names because my Ukrainian is so terribly poor. So I will leave it to you to pronounce your full names. Anna and Oksana, please, over to you.
Yes, we're ready. Hello, Mikael. And I would like to add only one thing that you said that you are the only one who is not in Kiev. I'm also not at Kiev because I live in Prague. So, and seems that Ukrainian Doc Laboratory became really international. So my name is Oksana Kapinas and I'm a producer, and this is Anna Korsh. She's the director and co-producer. Together we are working on a full-length documentary, Dacha Bracha on the Road, which follows a famous Ukrainian folk band.
10 years ago, I saw the band Dacha Bracha in the concert as a music student. I was standing on the center of the room and I couldn't understand this feeling, such a strong energy that went through them. They performed all Ukrainian songs and seems that they transmitted our roots and traditions through time and space. I wanted to know more and share this story with everyone. And we started to film in 2018, this project.
I will continue through personal stories of our four protagonists and their personal connection to our country and our tradition. We actually share a story about Ukraine. The mission of Dacha Bracha is to share rich Ukrainian tradition with younger generation in our own country, and also to the global community who may have never heard about Ukraine before.
And now I would like to show you a few scenes from our project and present one of our character, Marko Galinevich.
В нашому розумінні шлях – це така якась суцільна філософія. Все наше життя – то шлях.
Через подорожі, через спілкування, через цю дахабрахацію, яка відбувається 15-й рік.
Відкрито? Це моя бабуся Олександра Макарівна.
Хто тобі сказав, що це? Я думала, що він сам прийде, вони всі приїхали.
Ну, то я тут...
Я просто трошки прибралася.
Да, ну так вже як є.
Це дуже стара, давня пісня. Давня. Це ще я маленька була, як ще дід, баба ще мої співали такі ці пісні. Чорна хмара наступає, чорна хмара наступає. Гей-гей, чумак воли запрягає. Гей-гей, чумак воли запрягає. Чумак воли запрягає, чумак воли запрягає. Гей-гей, на дорогу виїжджає.
На битий шлях.
На битий шлях виїжджає. Полядає.
Чумак воли запрягає.
Our goal is to demonstrate the power of music as a universal language and answer where we can find our real history and how to transmit culture from generation to generation. Our film follows band members through the many phases of creative process, from gathering traditional lyrics in villages to their transformation in a new album, like we would like to share with you in the next video from Brazilian recording studio.
Yeah.
This film would be a postcard from Ukraine to the rest of the world. And now we are at the final production stage. And to finalize it, we're going to go on expedition with Dacha Bracha and discover Ukrainian regions from where their lyrics come from. And now we are looking for European partners and co-producers to join us in the production and post-production stage. Of course, broadcasters, distributors, sales agents, and festival representatives. Thank you for your attention, and we are ready to answer questions.
Thank you very much, Anna and Oksana. It was a pleasure to watch. We've talked a lot about the energy of this this wonderful band, and I could really feel it. So that's wonderful. So let's open the floor for comments or questions. Are there anyone who would like to start? I'm just trying to get an overview. Okay,
sir,
then I would.
Sir, okay,
yeah.
It's
Sorry,
good. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay,
please.
thank you, Mikael. Я хочу запитати.
I want to ask the director of the film, Anna, who I know. I would like to ask you, getting back into the future of the projects, pretty much into the future of the project. Where would you like to show your film? Where are you taking your film to? What will be in the final of the story? What would you like to know by making this film? Yes, thank you very much for this question. Well, basically, the film is going to be based on 4 main blocks and 4 main drama pillars. There will be the story of the protagonist, the expedition, the archival materials, the memories from their childhood. They have their maths, the music for the very first time. We're going to do that through the animational scenes. And basically, what we are really wanting to do, we really want to show this path of a creative person who started with a very small concert that have been made in the cultural houses in a small cities and in small towns, how they got to the international success and international acknowledgement. So this is my main aim, to show this path. So this is going to be a music story, but again, it's going to be more a story of people, about creative people and artists that keep on moving forward in order to show Ukraine to the world. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now it's clearer. Thank you. So basically, if I've understood you the right way, Anna, so you want to make this film not for the Ukrainian audience that much, who basically are going to buy the ticket to their concert, because they will be much more interesting for them, because the impression between the concerts and between the film is going to be completely different. And I know that from my experience as well. You want this film to show Ukraine to the European audience or to the world audience, right, I am? Yes, what we planned, we really wanted this film to be shown, this film to be mentioned in the international screens as well, not only to be shown in Ukraine, but we basically understand as well that the main audience of Dacha Bracha, the fans of Dacha Bracha, are all over the world. So we want this film to be seen not only in Ukraine, yes, but also you're targeting Ukrainian diaspora or some other audiences. Well, no, there are some people who do not know the language. Now, like, yes, okay, I don't understand what they're singing as well, but I can get the emotion. Yes, that's right, you are. Oksana would like to add up something. Yes, please. Yes, because Dacha Bracha, they create a tremendously fantastic mystical music, and understanding that they're using the old Ukrainian folk songs and the way that they transform it into the modern present performance, mixing up the rhythms from Balkans or the world music as it is today. It makes this unique formula that makes this band interesting all over the world. We have seen the geography of the performances the Daha Bracha had. We can see the geography of their followers and their fans. That's US, Canada, and it's not about diaspora as well. There are the people who do not know Ukrainian language, but who come to their concerts, who visit their concerts. We have seen at the Rock in Rio festival that has more than 100,000 audiences, and they're all fall in love with Daha Bracha and their sound and Ukrainian songs that are being shown from the stage. So that is why we do believe in the international potential of this film. Okay, though I have one more question as well. So this project has been mentioned as the road movie. Road movie as a specific construction that might be a very helping wound for the films. But throughout this trip by the band, what is going to be happening throughout this trip of the band? So, or was just going to be just the formal way to unite the fragments of your story, or it's definitely going to be the real tour? So, there's going to be happening something tragic, comic, or there's going to be some resistance, or is it just going to be a very formal idea of like buying a ticket to Brazil and then moving to US and whatever? So we're just going to be different territories. And so the road movie, I mean, the road movie is a very good working construction, and you know that for quite well. But what's going to be happening during this trip and during this journey? As Daha Bracha say on their own, that before the pandemic, 9 months out of 12, they used to be on the road. So basically, that was the non-stop tours. So they've had all their life going on the road. And we have some of the archival materials when they have just started their band 15 years ago, and they have been constantly on the road. So it's not just about using road movie as a technique to show the beauty of the trip, but it's also the methods to show their transformation and their growth as well. Okay, yeah, that's nice.
Let's hear some questions and comments from others. I can see that Ghana Mamonova, you are with us. Could I ask you for your comments to this project? Ghana Mamonova, can you hear me?
Алло, да.
Yes, hello. Yes, I think that I should introduce myself. I am the editor-in-chief for Suspilna Culture, and if you know that Suspilna broadcast, they have been conducting multiple cultural projects in the recent years, so we're really interested in taking different interesting ideas. And I really like Daha Bracha, as most people do, but I have this kind of a question that I was sitting and listening to your presentation, and was sitting as from the part of this as the public channel, as a Suspilna broadcaster. That would be very interesting for us to tell the story of this band. But the question is, what we would like to show our audiences with this film? Who are the main protagonists of the film? The band itself, the project itself, what it gives to its impact to the world? Who's the main hero of this? Who's the main protagonist of this story? So I haven't heard that. So I'm trying to comprehend this information as our viewers would comprehend it, and the idea wasn't really clear for me. I know that this film has been planned for multiple years. I'm following your development. I like your idea tremendously. I'm constantly reading the news on this project, that you have been working on it for quite a long period of time already, but I still haven't found the answers to myself. Who is the main hero, the main protagonist for your film? The band itself? Yes, thank you very much for your question, Hannah. Well, basically, we just have 7 minutes, so maybe that wasn't just clear from our side. Then, yes, the band is the main protagonist of the film, but still, I would like to emphasize that this is the story about people. They have 4 different characters, they're 4 different personalities. They have showing their own vision to the situation in Ukraine. They have own ideas about what's going on. We have a very patriotic notes from the stage, so they're speaking on the situation happening in Ukraine. They're saying that their mission is and their ambition is to be the ambassadors in the world and that they represent Ukraine in the world.
Такий теж творчий челендж
So
показати
for us, it's also a creative challenge to show this success story through their vision of the situation which is taking place in Ukraine, but still for it to be very subtle, not just to speak a lot about the war too much, not to speak too much about some of the dramatic moments. Of course, they will be there because they are taking place around us. But besides that, can I add just very quickly?
Very shortly, Oksana, because we are so much out of time. So really short. Okay. I'm sorry. It's one of my tasks to make us try to reach the schedule, so we also have time for the remaining projects. Thank you very much for the presentation and the best of luck with the film.
За увагу. Так.
Дякуємо за увагу.
Thank you for the intention.
So we will go to the next presentation, and the next project is called Freeman Horizon, and we will have the director Oksana and the producer Katerina, and please, the floor is yours.
Доброго дня, підкажіть, будь ласка.
Hello, would you please tell me, do you hear me? Is there sound? Yes. Okay. So first of all, I'd like to express my gratitude to the organizers of UkrDocLab and personally to Mikael, because it's an incredible event for us. And I do hope that our project has changed for the better, because we have gone through a certain way. And together with Oksana, we'd like to present the project of the documentary full-length film, Freeman Horizon. So this is the presentation. So this is the story about the person who today is rather famous in Ukraine, Valery Markus, the ex-combatant, and now he's the writer, the traveler and influencer. He has more than 100,000 subscribers in Facebook as for now, 55,000 subscribers in Instagram, and more than 200,000 in YouTube. And his book, The Footprints on the Road, was sold in 50,000 copies, so which is a very high indicator for Ukraine. He's a successful young man who is strong, bold, and courageous. This is how people see him, but behind the mask of success, there is the deep psychological trauma, which makes him all the time fight for his own life. When he was 18, as a teenager, in fact, he went to the army. And in 2 years of the service, he got to the war. He took part in the Russian-Ukrainian war for 3 years in the 25th Air Assault Brigade, which took part in the biggest battles. So his dream was to become a military guy and his goal. But the reality was much more complicated, not just beautiful young dreams. The army turned out to be a disappointment, and the war doesn't give you courage. It kills and tortures people morally and psychologically and physically. The majority of his brethren either perished at war or committed suicide. And he had the same intentions which he tried to fight back. And several years ago, when he came back to the civil life and moved to Kiev back, he understood that he cannot find peace and put up with the past. How to create the new life-giving senses at the place where almost everything was ruined. Searching for the answers into these questions, he went to the on-foot travel throughout the Norway to go through Oslo to Polar Circle to the Nordkapp Cliff at the bank of the Arctic Ocean. This travel was more than 4 months and 3,000 kilometers. And now we'd like to present the teaser, which was created out of the footage which he made on his own and shot them during his travels. Could we show the teaser, please?
З тих, хто повернувся з фронту цілий, з руками, з ногами, я не знаю жодного, кому на фронті не сподобалось. Звичайно, ці розмови не ведуться якось публічно.
Those talks are not public, but when we sit down at the table, 2 or 3 of us, and we remember 2014 and summer, and someone says, this used to be my life. Why? Why do you like the war? Well, because in the morning you're not going to the factory, you're not staying at some machine, you're not the driver of the bus, you're a military guy. You are there where all the others are afraid to be. You are doing what other people can see on TV only. But when you turn out to be in this situation where there are torn limbs around you and just hands and legs around you, then this picture is just ruined. And this is not the chaos in your mind. This is just a porridge of the thoughts and principles of the things which you should understand. You understand that the world which you perceived before is not like this at all. And people committed suicides. In my battalion, during 2015, there were more suicides than people who were dying at war in 2014. I had some issues with my mind, psychological, mental issues. I came to the commander of my unit. I gave him the weapon and I told, take my machine gun or I'll kill myself. Unfortunately, in the majority of the cases, all of my friends are not alive anymore. Maybe 1 or 2 are left, 2 of them. Out of how many? Of many. So Valery came back alive from his travel, from his voyage. He managed to overcome his suicidal intentions, and this is what our story will be about. It is important not only in the context of the psychological rehabilitation of the ex-combatants and veterans, but also for the peaceful, for the citizens who did not take part in the warfare, because anything can push you towards the thoughts about suicide. Your military experience can be, or any other traumatic experience can push you to such thoughts. The death of your relative, your disease, some professional failure or love failure. So in fact, whatever happens with us in life, and why I was really impressed by this story, because during the last year, I very often had my own ideas and thoughts about suicides. It never happened before. I went to the psychologist, I went to the therapist, and when I saw this project, when I met it, I thought that it can also be kind of therapy for me, as the travel for Valery used to be. The work on this project is the therapy for me, so I'm in the search of the answers for those questions. And our project will be about the point that every single person is capable of more than just dying. And for the work on this movie, we will use the footage which was shot by Valery himself during his voyage, maybe his archival materials and footage from the war. And also we will shoot additional footage, some materials which will be, well, for the teaser we used the interview which he gave at one of the TV channels, and we'd like also to shoot additionally some similar shots, some his reflections and contemplations on his time at war and his thoughts during the travels to create a very precise and peculiar story. So we are planning the film with a running time of 80 minutes. It will be a road movie and drama. The project implementation period is 4 months. We are planning to begin the production in November of this year and finalize it up to March next year. And also, after the production, we would like to have the festivals and cinema distribution, which will also coincide with the publishing of the second book of Valery, which will help the promotion. We have the deal with the biggest cinema network, the Planeta Kino, Planet of Cinema, about the cinema distributions. The distributor of the TV content is interested in our movie as well. And I'd like to mention that at the stage of the preparation for the travels, we got the support of the embassy of the Norwegian kingdom, the Kingdom of Norway to Ukraine, which is interested in the project, and they are ready to help in the promotion of this film for in Europe. And we will be happy to discuss any opportunities for distribution and festival representation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And we'll open the floor to questions and comments. And I can see that Mitro, we would like to take the word as the first one, please.
I have a short question. How do you see your position as a film director or an author or film directors? How many of you? Because I did not get who is the producer, who is the film director. Sorry for that. What I mean, you're communicating with the author, with the writer. Valery himself is the author of the script of his life, I would say. So how will you recreate this life in your script? What's the vision of his? What's your role? Are you just an observer? Are you an advocate? Are you the lawyer, or are you the promoter? Who are you as a film director? Or are you just an interviewer? Thank you. Let me begin. The answer Oksana will add. I'm the producer of this film, and I personally know Valery for long ago. We are friends since 2014, and for me, it's a personal story. We were getting ready in 2018 for this travel, and for a long time we've planned, and we were in the search of a film director, and finally we found Oksana. So whatever is about the further work is the developed common concept, and Oksana can add a bit. Well, my role in this project is the following. The script did not exist first, and Valery is not a cinematographer. He does not know what dramaturgy is, how we create the cinema as it is. So he does not know that. And the footage, there is lots of interesting footage, which in fact we'll need to make an order again. And the events which took place during the travels chronologically, in the film, they will be totally shown in a different sequence to achieve the maximum impact onto the viewer. And in fact, this is the same question to the film director of the feature film, full-length film, who is taking the script. What's your role? Well, but the script is already written, so it's already done, right? What else can I do? Because we have the script. No, I don't mean that. I meant that your formal role, you know, like how do you see this comparison? What's your role in the structuring process? How do you see the development of this topic in time? Because as far as I understand it now, this is the simultaneous editing of the Norwegian travels with certain flashbacks or his comeback. That's what I'm interested about. Not literally. Thank you. Well, we will begin what you saw in the teaser, in fact, a psychological state which Valery had when he began the travel. And we will begin with the very beginning, with the reasons which pushed him to begin the travel. We'll raise the topic of suicides among the military, the topic which has never been raised in Ukraine, as far as I know, actively. So I think that our society is ready for this topic already. So we will shoot additionally, and I'm not planning. We will shoot additionally some of his memories and reminiscences about his travels, some of his thoughts and worries, what we lack in our footage, which was made by him already. And I'd like to use that as the voiceover. So this documentary will have more or less the structure as you could see in the teaser. It will be the voiceover, the events and the footage from the travels, from the voyage. I'm still not sure whether we use the archival footage of Valery from war. I haven't seen them so far fully. And I will conduct a conversation with him, maybe not even me, maybe that will be the person whom he can trust more and who can in front of whom he can open himself more, but I will lead the process, I will control it, and we will achieve some frankness, his sincerity in some points where maybe it will be hard for him to be.
Yeah, I can see that that's Svetlana, that you just raised the hand. We are basically out of time, so if it's a comment, it has to be very short. Svetlana, please.
Можна запитати?
По-перше, хочу подякувати дівчатам.
First of all, I'd like to thank Svetlana and the girls for the presentation. A very short question, 70 minutes and one character. How do you plan to solve this issue? Will it be interesting to observe one character for such a long time, or you have some additional plot lines? Thank you.
A very, very short answer, Oksana.
Можливо, вони в нас з'являться.
Well, maybe we will have some of the additional plot lines. I don't know. I still consider that. Maybe we'll have additional plot lines. So far, our project is a very deep stage of development. And thankfully, thanks to this laboratory, we've already found the entry point. And it's totally possible that we will just make the running time shorter. Still, we have visually, well, besides the personal story of Valery, we have visually really bright footage of Scandinavia, and I think, well, in fact,
Oksana, you have to wind up.
Самого Валери. У нас буде ще дуже...
We won't have only Valery himself, but also a very impressive visual component, like Baraka film, for instance. So I think that with those two components, we will keep the attention of the viewer, the story of the protagonist, and really beautiful landscapes and visual footage, which will be included. So this is so far what's planned. We'll see how it works.
Thank you very much.
The project
Oksana,
is still under development.
We have to stop here, and I'm so sorry, Sana. I see that you raised your hand, but we are so much over time that unfortunately I have to move on to the next project. I'm sorry about that. And
no question anymore.
No,
Mikhail, no question.
No, sorry. No, sorry. The schedule is...
So pity. I have very important question to film director.
I have no doubts, but we have
Just
a schedule.
Small.
No, sorry. We will run
Я
out of
перепрошую,
schedule.
що втручаюся в вашу дискусію, але я пропоную, що всі ці
I
питання,
do
які
apologize to interfere, but I offer to ask those questions after we end the pitching itself. Maybe there will be some of the additional comments. Let us go on and let's not interfere into the process, okay?
Thank you, Paulina. And you're right. It may be that the question is short, but sometimes the answer is not so short. So the schedule gets out of hand. I'm so sorry. We have to move on to the next presentation. That is the project called We. And let me say hello to Maria, the producer. Maria, there you are.
Доброго дня, я рада всіх вітати.
Hello, I'm happy to welcome you, and I'd like to express my gratitude for the opportunity to take part in this laboratory. It was so important for us because we're also at the development stage, and it used to be just invaluable for us.
I am the producer and I represent the full feature film by Sashko Brahma, the film We, and I would like to ask you to start with a teaser of the film to start with.
Все своє життя я займаюся театром, але в березні 2020 року театр став неможливим.
Просимо вас без особливих потреб не виходити на вулицю, не відвідувати місця скупчення людей.
Я взяв камеру і поїхав в Чернівці, які на той час знаходились в червоній зоні.
А де приймати пологи? Поясніть мені, в коронавірусному відділенні?
Хотів зняти роботу лікарів, які працюють в інфекційній лікарні. Через кілька днів зйомок мене поклали в лікарню із двостороннім запаленням легень. Це був той момент, коли я прощався з життям. Тоді я нікому не дзвонив, бо розумів, що немає сенсу. І мені було якось прикро, що сама ситуація настільки абсурдна. Я приїхав місто, куди мене ніхто не кликав. Я хотів зняти документальний фільм про ковід. І тепер через таку дурню я ніби помираю зараз. Коли я вийшов з лікарні, знову почав знімати.
Виключай. Дякую.
Thank you. And so basically this is a story about a theater director, Sashko Brahma, March 2020, when there was no opportunity to conduct rehearsals and to tour. He took his camera and he went to Chernivtsi, to the red zone that has just been introduced in Ukraine, to film the work of the doctors. And in a couple of days he has been hospitalized to the very same hospital with COVID-19. When he has got out of the hospital, he continued his filming and he has filmed the COVID departments in the provincial cities of Ukraine, and he tried to show these people with a hotline, with a support hotline, who were helping to the homeless people who were in the critical situation during the times of the pandemic, and who were trying to fight the overall challenges of Ukrainian healthcare system. He also has filmed the illegal pandemic rave and the leaders of the anti-vax movement as well. So that was the trip with his camera all around Ukraine that has started in 2020 and that continues up till now. Together with the author of the project, we have seen how the virus has become a very powerful catalyzer, a very powerful enabler to all of the parts of our lives and to all of the parts of our society. And we have seen the really ambiguous portrait of the society that we used to know, but that's changing in front of our eyes. This journey also influences the author of the project. It's an open question for us as well. During this filming, Sashko has decided that he has to make the full feature film on pandemic, but on this way he has to face the consequences of COVID disease, because he still feels the impact of COVID by being constantly tired, with constant fatigue and some of the mental disorders as well. So we have made around 10 or 20% of our materials by now. We have our main protagonists outlined, more or less, but in the same time, we would like to continue with filming throughout the next year as well. So we're looking for additional financial support for the additional filming, and we do hope that we will be able to find additional co-producers for the projects. We don't have the final budget yet. I don't know if I still have the time to tell a little bit more about our protagonists. So you can see some of our protagonists. There will be doctors, we'll have some ravers, we'll have some volunteers, we have the leaders of the anti-vaccination movement. And so basically, we're going to have a lot of people who have active position during the pandemic and who have been actively changing their lives and who have been actively changing the lives of others in the time of the pandemic. I think that the film will be made in the intertwining of those stories that we will be able to see through the eyes and the personal story of the author of the project. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Maria. It's really for all of you, but also for this one, it's interesting to see how a discussion within a week with your colleagues can make a presentation change radically. Thank you very much for that, Maria. Yes, I guess that Svitlana, the raised hand in your window is a leftover from the former project. Otherwise, please tell me if it's not. Yes, it was. But Krelu, you have raised your hand.
Я хотів запитати, чи фільм буде
Yes, I
саме
wanted
в
to
Чернівцях
ask you
проходити? Ну,
whether
якщо нас
the film is
шарт, у
going to
вас були
take
кадри
place in
також
Chernivtsi,
з
because Європи you've
десь,
also
якщо
had
я
some
правильно
films from
зрозумів,
Europe,
там
as far as I've seen in the teaser, so you're going to have the teaser only in Chernivtsi. No, the filming has started in Chernivtsi, and Sashko has been hospitalized in Chernivtsi, and we used those shots in the teaser, but the filming took place all over Ukraine and Lviv and Kiev. We have went together with the anti-vaccinator movement to Berlin to film their participation there as well. So the filming took place all over Ukraine and sometimes even outside of Ukraine, yes.
Was that clear enough, the answer? Yeah?
Да, дякую.
Good, great.
Yes, that was good.
Alex, I can see you also raised your hand.
Yes. Скажіть, будь ласка, як
Yes,
ви...
can you please tell us how do you plan to bring your film to the audience who believes that COVID-19 is a made-up disease and vaccines are poisonous? Well, I believe that this film can be brought up to any audience overall because it actually shows the ambiguity of the points of view to this event. We're not going to be in any way pursuing anyone whether COVID-19 is a made-up disease or not. We're showing this point of view through the stories of our protagonists, and I do believe that those protagonist stories will be quite impressive, and we don't even know how the stories will end up. So, for example, the leaders of the anti-vaccination movements, they believe that it's a conspiracy. The COVID-19 is conspiracy and a made-up disease. He's a very interesting protagonist overall because he does a lot of things that are that are crossing the borders of our opportunities and ethics, and it's very interesting to follow in some way as well. So I think what is important in this case for us is, not try to be like a journalist and approach COVID-19 from the human point of view. Yes, but my question was how you're going to show this film to those audiences, how they're going to see that, how they're going to watch your film, how you going to be presenting this film to these audiences. You know, it's hard for me to answer this question. It's my first film as a producer and this first film for Sashko as a director, but I'm sure we'll be able to find a co-producer and distributors that will help us to find the best strategy to get this film to the audiences. I hope that this film will be presented at the festivals, but I'm not sure how the destiny will go. So I think it will only depend after the film is going to be made. Thank you.
Thank you. And Elena Tereshkova, you have raised your hand as well, please.
Yes, the topic is a very hot topic at this point. So maybe you have thought about making a couple of series and make it a YouTube film. Well, you know, this film has started that we have started to make the video reports, and we've started as a framework, as a multimedia project, a theater project, first of all. But when we started working on that, the material was so captivating that we've decided to make it into the full feature film. So that is why we've applied to Ukrainian Cultural Foundation not to post these materials on YouTube, because we really would like to make a high quality artistic project, but not just the YouTube videos.
Elena, could I ask you, what are your thoughts on the possibilities of distributing this kind of film on TV as a broadcast in Ukraine?
You know, for the television, unfortunately, I can only answer on behalf of my channel, the channel that I represent. But I do believe, you know, our channel is making documentaries and documentary projects on our own. So I think that they will not take this film on our channel, unfortunately. I'm trying to be honest. Sorry. Because we have a lot of content that is dedicated to this issue. So, you know, to make a separate television channels, they want to have entertaining content, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, in any case,
can I have a question?
Yeah, absolutely. But I just want to say, in any case, honesty is always appreciated. Although it did not open for a possibility. Yes, and over to you, Hannah.
Yes, I have a very, let us say, journalistic question. Your film, your story, your topic, and this kind of approach, in what way it is different compared to all of the other topics on COVID that the television channels make? Well, we have personal stories. The personal stories of the author and the director, the personal stories of the protagonists who were not able to tell, when we were not able to show in the 7-minute presentation. But each of those topics that we brought up, there are specific people with their life story, and this is very dramatic and it's very interesting to follow. So it's not just a film about COVID-19 as a social event or a medical event or whatever. That's more about people, and it's about the international crisis, humanity crisis in some way. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria, for the presentation and for your answers to the questions. This is what we had time for. Thank you very much. And we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much as well.
Also, of course, to Sashko, who luckily survived the COVID-19. And now we go to the very last presentation. As you know, we have had 5 projects in the laboratory, and now it's time for the 5th one with the title Sophie Anton Film Game. So a warm welcome to Irena, the director, and to Julia, the producer.
Добрий день, мене звати...
Good day, my name is Yulia Hontaruk and I'm the producer of the project, and you can see Irena Statsenko, the director of the project, and we would like to present you our project, Sophie Anton Film Game. The main character of this film, a protagonist, is our friend, and it's basically a film of friends about a friend. We have a very good access to our protagonist. Irena has been trained in the sound directing. She has been working with the musical projects, with music band, have debuted documentary film was on music band Daughters, the film that she has been working as a co-producer as well, and I have been working as a co-producer as well. So the film about Anton Baybakov and his wife Sofia, they are both composers, so this film is very close to both of us. Starting from 2015, Irena has started filming of our protagonists, and at this point we are finalizing the development of our project. We are at the development stage. And I would like to pass the floor to Irena, the director. Good day. I would like to, as together with our friends, we are participating in, let us say, therapeutic artistic experiment and making a film about that. So Sophie Anton film game, that is a melodramatic musical film where two people meet, a talented contemporary composer, Anton, the self-brought musician. He is not aware of notes, but he creates the music palette of any genre. And his muse, Sophia, the academic musician, and highly educated academic musician, who knows about the modern opera, but she's not really good in improvising, and she's only looking for her own voice. Let us take a look at the teaser, please. If you're a talented person, then you can take two roles.
Но если ты себе врешь, то полностью тебя разрушает. Антон Байбаков и София Байбакова – это уже проект.
Отныне вас не намочит дождь, ибо каждый из вас станет навесом для другого.
Ну, мы просто, на самом деле, друг перед другом в комплексе. Он в комплексе писать музыку, когда я тут на кухне ложусь, а я не играю.
Я пытаюсь разобраться с собой.
Отныне одиночество для вас не существует, ибо два тела вы, но жизнь у вас одна.
Это мы вместе создали.
Ну, сами себя взламываем таким образом.
Ну и, кстати, вот эта вот штучка, которую мы выпили, она реально, мне кажется, спасла наши отношения.
Идите же сейчас в ваше жилище, чтобы войти в дни вашей совместной жизни.
Я еду в тишину, я хочу услышать свой голос.
И пусть ваши дни будут хороши, продлятся долго на этой земле.
La vie est belle. J'aime la musique. J'aime chanter. Je crois, je suis unie. Et je m'aime.
Я думаю, что если бы мужчины были рядом со своими женщинами во время родов, то войны бы на земле вообще бы никогда бы не было. София это очень много раз обсуждать.
Да, не переживай. Мы что, ради треков как бы вместе. Но...
Я соединяю вас друг с другом и со всеми нами, кто любит вас.
Он создан, чтобы создавать музыку. И я тоже хочу.
Мне кажется, что мы много разговариваем, а могли бы что-то поделать вместе.
Мы принимаем правила.
Правила игры, да? Это открытое пространство для творчества совместного.
Финальная сцена, типа, наконец приехал курьер и привез торшер. Теперь у нас все хорошо.
Да, мы больше не занимаемся музыкой. Мы просто перестали быть детьми.
Отже, невід'ємна складова їх
Basically, an important component of their unity is co-authorship, and some of the greatest moments, it is even more important for Anton than love is. So understanding this having this intimation feeling with his experiments with a narcotic, with drugs, they wanted to find this easiness in their co-creation without no artificial stimulants. So they're inviting their close friends to their house to play different games, to play music, music together, to play different types of arts together, to play with pleasure with all of the parts of their talents, to support one another, to search their own voice, to create this artistic environment together with their friends. Throughout of these depressive times that we currently have in Ukraine, I think to know how to find the beauty in yourself or in the people around you, that is the salvation that you can take. I want to create an artistic piece of that, the ode to life, and my closest reference would be All That Jazz by Bob Fosse, because basically in that film he also managed to make a musical masterpiece from the way his character lives. We have two main protagonists in our film, so we're going to be taking two points of view, from the point of view of Anton and from the point of view of Sophia, on what life is. When people fall in love, they somehow believe that it's quite clear that they will understand one another with a half a word spoken, and they're making the same mistake in the relationship. My main goal is to follow them, how this work on their own future is being made on the way of the change, how two people who are playing different games from the very beginning are trying to create the joy and rules from one another, how they find the strength for this kind of transformation and what kind of bonuses they receive out of that. So I think maybe that is the way to find your own happiness, and maybe the story will end up with a divorce, but I in a way feel that we have to keep on continuing filming just to see how the big opera is going to be created and how their joint child of art of these two co-authors will be born.
Нашому проєкті ще немає.
Our project so far doesn't have any funding. It is on. It is working.
Нашому проєкті ще немає.
Our project so far doesn't have funding. We already applied to the fund where we came to the second tour, and we were selected out of 500 projects to top 50. We are awaiting for the results, and we are considering to have the co-production. We plan to go to Stockholm, so maybe it would be interesting for the Swedish part. We're also planning to film additionally for 2 years, and the release of the film will be in 2025. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's open the floor. Are there anyone who has a question or a comment to the film team? Hannah Dovlich, I cut you off earlier. Do you have a comment?
Maybe I'll have a comment later, because there are some people who are here, directors and producers. They are members of Directors Guild. So now I don't want to waste time for it. But projects are really very interesting and very different. That's interesting.
Okay. So anyone else? Sergey, you're talking. You're muted. Yeah, please.
It's okay, sound?
Yes, it's okay now. Yes.
Irina said about some crisis moments which will happen during the next 2 years. The intuition. What does an intuition tell you? What we'll see? Performance only, or some crisis, and which they will try to overcome? What exactly will take place? What does intuition tell you? Well, of course, it's not that easy to predict or to assume, to write down that into the treatment, but still, what do you foresee? What will happen? Which crisis? Well, here, the most important crisis moment is that Anton is already the shaped personality, the formed personality as a composer. And he's not an easy person. He's pressing Sophia a lot, he's pushing, and she's still in search of her own voice. It's not that easy for her. She's a very subtle lady. She's trying to cope with her own psychological problems. And this is the permanent conflict. If Anton has the some of the inspiration for creation and Sophia lacks her resources and force and efforts and ideas, sometimes the conflicts are taking place. Sometimes, unfortunately, they try to get to know how to listen to each other, but sometimes they fail to do that, and it comes to almost divorce. But in fact, they would like to be together. They want to create something together. So we will see the process of the creation, the process of musical work, both the conflicts and reconciliations and their work on themselves. Then there is such question. Well, I know those people, I know those, your protagonists, Anton and his wife. And I know that you are in close relations with them. How close can they let you into their private life to film all of that? Well, this is the story of this musical community that we understood long ago, that in our households, in our families, of all of the friends, we have similar events. I'm, for instance, the wife of the DOP who is filming this, who is making this film and shooting the footage. And we have the same issues with my husband. We are also on the way to this perfect co-authorship. And sometimes our quarrels lead to almost divorce. So we are in constant dialogue with Anton and Sophia about those issues, because those issues are the most important for us. So yes, it turns out that this is the constant topic of our meetings. How we can reveal ourselves and to be free and to create easily. Well, my question was a bit different, in fact. Will you be able to be so close to them, to reveal whatever you're telling about, to live with them, to put an additional bed not far from them? Well, that's what we are planning. Well, because the documentary today allows sometimes to show some sex scenes. And are they ready to that? So maybe the plot will develop in this way, that with our friends we'll try to make some crowdfunding, and we will construct the house together at his land plot, where all of us and you can also come there and live there for the rehearsals, for the creative cooperation, to live together for several days in a row. Yes, we are very close. Okay, got it. Yes, 100%. We can totally live with them and we can move into them for a week. It's not an issue.
We are, again, unfortunately, almost out of time. Dmitry, a last question or comment before we have to close?
Yes, I have the following question. What's the essence of the game? How do you see this genre of the film, which is the game? I saw that in the teaser, and it's very reflecting and showing a lot, and I saw those scenes. But what's the essence? What are the rules of this game which you mentioned? And how do you see, well, maybe you have some vision of the whole structure of the game, which it will be transformed into film, for it to be simultaneously both? Well, besides the life philosophy, it really resonates in the consciousness of Anton with the virtual games, with the computer games. And they have a very interesting structure in the computer games. When first we read the rules of the game, mostly they are shown in the Hollywood video, which is wonderfully shot, which is bright and musical. And then we enter the game, that is daily work, which can have kind of, for instance, two similar episodes from two perspectives, first Anton's and then Sophia's point of view. This will be an illusion of choice for the viewer, and we can solve this issue in any of the moods. I will search that, and it would be interesting for me Because this is the task for the film director. It's an interesting quest for me, how I can reveal the state of the game, this reality where the player exists.
Thank you very much, Irena. And also Julia, of course. That was it. That was the presentation of the 5 projects. All that is left for me to say is it's been a wonderful experience to be with you, and I wish you the best of luck with your 5 films. Thank you.
Дякую дуже, Микаель, і
Thank you
дякую.
so much, Mikael, and thank you all of the participants of the projects that you took these risks and showed wonderful trailers which you worked on and reworked. It's really felt very well that you worked a lot, and I was sometimes even shocked by the trailers in a good sense of the word. And to conclude, I'd like to give the floor to our partners. This is the head of the Ukrainian Film Director Guild, the film director and producer Zhana Dovhich, who is the partner of ours and has supported us during the whole way of the creation of UkrDocLab. Zhana, the floor is yours. Hello, thank you. I'm so grateful to Polina that she offered this kind of partnership, because really it is so important to develop the projects. It's important to begin to work with the documentaries since the very beginning, since the development stage, because mostly we as the authors are in the cage of our own minds, of our own thoughts. So when we share our ideas, something is being crystallized and polished. It's so important. Each project has its own advantages, so I would like all of those films to be distributed, to be shown, and that's what I'd like to drive our attention to. For all of us, for the producers, for the film directors, for the representatives of the TV channels or any other partners of the project, this is our home task, to think about the distribution, because it's a very big bottleneck for the Ukrainian documentaries. Because in fact, we don't have such a support which the European projects have, when the TV channels can become the partners and they know that there will be the festival edition where the author reveals himself or herself as a film director, and there will be one more version for the TV. But the money which is allocated by the TV channel, making them the co-producers, it helps them to develop the project and to move on. This is one more source of the funding of the project. So I would wish that all of us to bring this discussion into the different place, but let's not forget about this topic. And I would wish for us to have more sources of funding for the projects, and to have more interesting films for them to reach the viewers through the TV as well. Because whatever happens, the cinema distribution gives an opportunity for not so many people to get acquainted with the documentaries, to get some reflections on the issues which are raised by the authors. So in fact, what is happening with the VOD platforms? Well, so far we are at the very beginning of this way. So I wish all of us to take this next step together. Thank you. Thank you so much, Zhana. I don't know whether Dmitro is still with us, who also helped us during this discussion. Yes, hello. I would like to give you the warm welcome, because Dmitro is doing a big piece of work as well. He is the founder and of the Laboratory of Documentaries for Youth, for young artists Indie Lab, and also he's the curator and organizer of the documentary program of the American Festival Independence, which also helps us to see modern and interesting films and to develop in this direction. And Dmitro is himself a film director, the DOP, and the editor, and also he is the member of the Cinematographers Union. So I'd like him to share his impressions about what he saw. Thank you. Well, I really liked what was said by Sergei Bukovsky in the beginning. And we shouldn't forget about that our process is ongoing, but we don't see the industry so far. And all of that is focused in Kiev. I am in Mariupol now. I'm already at the stage when I begin to work not even with the people who are considered to be young directors, but I understood that sometimes I begin to work with the people who are still starting. I'm infecting them with documentaries now. So we create a very huge workshop with lots of participants, and we are trying people to understand as early as possible what the voice is and how to reveal it in the audiovisual piece. We're doing that for 4 years in the Indie Media Camp Game for Change. And what I'd like to wish, and what in fact I see, in a nutshell, I have some film directors' envy already. I feel I'm envious. I will be honest that I would like to get rid of my pedagogical projects finally and to come back to my editing processes. Because now we are finalizing a new movie where I am the editor. And it's a pity that we don't see the producers. Rather, a big number of producers, which then emerge from nowhere during the pitchings of the Ukrainian Film Agency. It's a pity that we don't see them here. I'd like to see the producers here, the people who are searching and can become co-producers. I think that those films which were presented, you shouldn't pay attention to anything. You should apply for pitchings. You should search for opportunities. And to create a film. But I still think that we need to search for instantly for the understanding of the opportunities of distribution, not only festivals, because you can see the competition at the festivals is rather high, and rather often I can hear that the first priority, the top priority at all of the pitchings of the Ukrainian Film Festival, Film Agency, that this is the festival only. I don't believe in that. Adding to what Jana said, the opportunities for the cinema distribution and for the VOD platforms should be considered. They try to make it in the cinemas. We need to use all of the opportunities, and it seems to me that, unfortunately, in spite of such a crazy development, I do remember the times when I was at the first pitching where Mikael was my tutor in 2009 at Baltic Sea Forum, and coming back to Ukraine, we never even spoke about that. What pitching? Let alone 2007. But those times passed, and it seems to be relevant now. But still, it seems to me that we need to work with the audience. All of the film directors need to develop the audience, to create the culture of documentary films. It should emerge much earlier than just when you're 18 or 20, especially in the cities and towns, in the regions, because I'm visiting the regions a lot. And I'm visiting the screenings. Unfortunately, the indicators of the viewing is not such impressive. I would say that 50 is already a lot. Sometimes there are more viewers than 50, but it is so important to develop the culture itself. We shouldn't just think within the film, but within the culture of media, to provide the understanding why documentaries are the important part of this media culture. And again, if it is not still systematically on the TV, we see that we need to speak about that. We see what happened with the Ukrainian Film Agency, what happened with the Ukrainian Cultural Fund, that they totally took the 180 ton and they begin to work with the TV product only. And they try to search for funding for the documentaries, creating TV products as well. But I still consider that in this segment, we still don't have a systematic development. And the questions which are posed by the people from the TV and what we heard today means that the documentaries is still a very rare guest on TV. It is not the part of the TV culture in Ukraine so far, in spite of some nice examples. So I would definitely like to show solidarity and develop documentary culture, because without that, we can't see each other for 10 years more. I would like to add, as I may, this is the first conversation. I do remember when I invited the producers from the TV channels within DocuDay's Dragon Forum, it was just 10 years ago. And I didn't have any development since those times. There is no TV for documentaries. Those could be late slots on TV. If TV would like to expand the audience, and if the TV did not create TV product in the wider sense, but documentaries, there is Alexander Kleimanov here, and they have a wonderful development program of PQA, but it is so important to drive attention to the TV. Maybe to develop those successful Ukrainian films, which unfortunately are seen only by several thousand of people. Maybe there is some sense to search for partnerships with TV channels for them to distribute or broadcast those films. So far, they are not ready to pay. And even out of my own experience, the films which were given by Suspilne TV channel or Espresso TV channel were given for free. We, the documentalists, are considered to be people who don't need money. We're just crazy, who try to self-reflect, but it's not true. Those are deep reflections, which sometimes people are not capable for. It's done not through the intellectual potential, but because this is the work at the factory, and you don't have enough time for the reflections. If we create the film for 4 or 5 years, it is a bit deeper, so we need to develop it. Why do I appeal for you? Because we can see these questions from both perspectives, and the distribution issue, which is posed by the film director and the producer, is so important. But the film directors and the producers are in the dead end in our country. And in this discussion, if the next stage of ours is the opportunity to find some common points, then some mainstream documentaries can get to the TV. It will be a huge win for us. Thank you.
Я сподіваюся, що це буде
Yes, thank
старт.
you everyone for sharing your opinions as well. I hope it will launch our discussion, because I'm sure that we have at least 2 projects that, if they will be transformed, they might be very interesting for the television as well, and they might have a TV version. And I do hope that we will establish this dialogue with television soon. But right now, I would like to pass the floor to Nadia Hrachova, because she would like to join our conversation as well. Yes, by the way, I have a question to Hanna Mamonova, because she's an editor-in-chief for Suspilne Culture. Anna, we know that Suspilne has its own pitchings as well and finances the projects and different production stages. Maybe you can share some information with us that might be interesting for our teams as well. Yes, well, thank you. Well, as a public broadcaster, we have already spent 3.7 million hryvnias for the support of different artistic projects on different platforms, from radio to TV and podcasts on our website. Next year, we would really like to, if we will have additional support from the state, we would like to spend 100 million for that. Unfortunately, we are not able to financially support the project at the early stage of development. So when we are announcing our artistic competition and our winners, well, basically most of the times those are the projects that are already being formed, already being created. So the nicely written scripts, nicely written protagonists or characters, the director's vision that has been already outlined. Even if we speak about the documentary films, that we already understand what is the final project that we're about to have in the end, how many episodes, what will each episode tell us about, what will the audience get out of it. So this is the answer for that. You know, knowing what the end is very important, because even if we will right now, we'll speak about some of the projects, you know, for example, the project A Little Bit Stranger. So this is a very sensitive topic for me. I'm coming from Lugansk as well, and this question about who I am is a question that is relevant not only for me but also for everyone around me. But I haven't had in this presentation what is the answer that Svetlana is looking for, or speaking on the other project that scopes with the topic of COVID, because on the television we really want to see the answers on some really strict questions and hard challenging questions, and we want to see harsh answers to that, not only people who had COVID, or not just the COVID dissidents, even if people have been, saying that COVID does not exist, but they died of it. Or if we speak about the musical band and the story about the musical band. So basically the first question is like, this is a commercial based project, then why would you apply for the state financial support then? Speaking about our pitchings, if you would participate with us, why should we provide you with additional finances if you have a commercial based story? If you can find the arguments and reasons for that, then that's good. If no, then we have no reasons to work with you as well. If we take a character who has this kind of a story when he has been involved, for example, not in a criminal actions, okay, not a criminal actions, but I don't know, he was involved into some fights, or there were ideas connected to the war. So of course we want to see the answers in the film on those harsh questions. So how does he command that right now? So had he changed the point of view of what he was doing, and or no? That all has to be mentioned as well. And when the person is presenting their project at the artistic pitching, we're asking those questions as well. And if the people, they speak about that, then that will be additional support for that. Of course, what we expect to see and what we have seen already, we know how much budget would you need. If you will take a look that each of our artistics competition has never shown the direct figure of financial support, because we always expect the people to know exactly how much money they want, and then we will consider how much money we can give. So I think that's all about our competition and artistic pitching from Suspilna. But on our today's pitchings, it was very interesting for me to listen to your current projects, because all of those projects that you have shown are in a way very, very relevant and very close to me, very relatable. So, the stories on war, on musical band, on COVID, the story on war is very important for me. The story on self-identification is very important for me as well. And I cannot say that it's very important for our state, but it's important for all of us as people. So I wish all of the best and all of the victories for all of the projects, and I hope that we will have a high quality documentaries, and I hope we'll be able to see them soon in Ukrainian television as well. I would like to support all of the documentary filmmakers, so please make your films, we're going to show them as well. Thank you, Hannah. And to end up, I've promised that we're going to have our main partners, and please welcome Yevgenia Kriksheim. She's today launching Kharkiv Docs 5th edition. So Yevgenia, we're pleased to welcome you and congratulating you on the 5th year of Kharkiv Docs. And thank you very much for being the expert of UkrDocLab. Yevgenia, can you please share with us your impressions on the projects that you have evaluated, and please mention those projects that you have selected to participate in industrial section of Kharkiv Docs. Thank you, Nadia. Thank you very much. I'm pleased to welcome everyone here, and thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to join this very important and this great project as UkrDocLab is, because basically the main gem of our industrial section at our festival is the pitching of the projects. So basically we are preparing those projects, and those projects that we select to our industrial projects, they are highly selected. We have additional support for those projects with our international tutors. We have been doing that for 3 days before. Right now we're doing it for just 1 day. So this is what's going to be happening on the 30th of September and the 1st of October during our festival, and it's going to be held offline. We're going to have the main tutor for our program, the Niels Fjokam, who has been leading Netflix Europe, up to recent times, and he was responsible for the creative component to this platform, and he has been the producer and the showrunner for the documentary films, and he is going to come to us on the 30th of September, and he's going to have the 4-hour workshop for those projects that have been selected by the Lab of Ukrainian Documentaries and that have been selected from those applications that we have received for our festival. But I would like to say that UkrDocLab has had very strong projects. I actually haven't even thought that we're going to see that kind of a strong projects there. I think that most of the projects were on the high international level as the projects, and I'm really happy that all of our colleagues and experts, we have had the same ideas for we should select, and we have selected the finalists, the 6 finalists. So we have all of the 5 projects that have been presented today, and we had another additional project, and I will later on read out the full list of the projects selected. But what I wanted to say before doing that is that we finally see the new labs emerging, like UkrDocLab, like Indie Lab that is run by Dmytro Chashlov and other labs. They are emerging all over Ukraine, and they are emerging not in a decentralized way, just as we also have our pitching in Kharkiv every year. This is the 4th year in a row that we have our pitching organized as well. What is very important for the documentary filmmakings at the early stages is to have this feedback, to have this opinion from their more experienced colleagues, from their peers as well, to learn from their experience. We've also had worked on the most important issues, on distribution, on the festival distribution and the festival presence of the film. So after this preparatory workshops at our festival, we've also asked Bridget O'Shea, who is the cultural manager and who is the founder of the Association of the Documentary Filmmakers in Europe. Quite recently, she led the industrial section of Doc Leipzig Film Festival, and she will be able to provide additional workshop on festival promotion for the films. So just a minute, sorry, just a second.
Пані Євгенія поки відключилася.
So we're just waiting for Evgenia to tune back.
У нас працює справжній
So I think that, all of the drama laws are working in our workshop as well, in our pitching. So, we are creating suspense and unexpected pose as well. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I will read out. Evgenia, please just be. Oh, I hope you're a safe driver. Yes, I have already violated the parking rules. Like, I'm sorry for that, and there is a police officer waiting for me here. But I would like to end up basically by reading out the project. So we have Elizabeth Buryak projects, Freeman Horizon. We are also the Sophia Anton film game and Andriy Kholkin through jazz, and a little bit of Stranger, directed by Svetlana Reshinska, and Dacha Bracha on the road. So basically, yes, I was let go. I think everything ended up nice. So basically, we had also a happy end in my story as well. So I will be definitely happy to see everyone in our festival. We're going to open our festival today. Today is going to be the offline opening that is going to be starting there. And on the 30th of September and the 1st of October, we would like to see all of our participants here in Kharkiv to join our lab at our part of UkrDocLab, and I would like to congratulate all of the participants and all of the winners, and I would like to wish you all the best and all of the successes in your further own development of the projects. Thank you. Yes, thank you very much, Evgenia. And basically, we would like to congratulate all of the winners that have been selected to participate in your pitch. And if I may, Evgenia, that was a mistake on the project that you have mentioned as selected, because only 3 projects of our lab have been going to come to Kharkiv, and 3 projects that you have selected out of all of the projects that have been evaluated by you. So if I may, then I would like to make this notion to mention that as well. Aranya, we can't hear you. Turn your mic on, please. Yes, sorry. Yes, that was that. Yes, there was my mistake. Yes, so I forgot that not all of the 5 projects that have been selected to our pitch. So I do believe that all of those 5 projects that you have presented, they have potential not only for the Ukrainian market, not only for the Ukrainian audiences, but they're also considering those problems and those topics that would be really relevant for our audience and for the audience in the eastern part of Ukraine. And we're sure that all of those films that will participate further on in our lab and in our pitchings, they have been selected from the broader number of applications, but we will definitely support everyone further on, as for example, we are supporting a couple of the additional projects that have been pitched last year. They're going to be presented in the already work in progress section. We're going to be presenting some teasers, and for example, Kornei Gritsuk and the film produced by Anna Polinchuk, they're going to be presenting their projects already at the they're going to be presenting this film on the Simon television channel. So we're going to be presenting their full-length project there, and we are trying to provide additional support to all of the projects that have been selected to our pitchings and have been selected to our workshop and have been selected to participate in our lab in the framework of the festival. Yes, thank you, Evgenia. Thank you. If we have, does anyone else would like to speak up or reflect on your impressions, please? You're welcome. If no, then we would like to then wrap up our session. So yes, there was Sergei Bukovsky who wanted to ask a question or wanted to say something. Sergei, please. The floor is yours. Maybe you have forgotten about that, but maybe we would like to hear from you as well. But please turn on your mic. Well, basically, you know, I've already said most of the things at the very beginning of our session. My opinions haven't changed about that. What I really loved about our projects that we have seen today and that have been pitched today, the project that we have heard, I really like that we have the new title for the film, A Little Bit Stranger, because now the film feels a little bit more personal. There is a different motivation for the characters and for the film itself. I really like that the Freeman title has had a new teaser emerging, because basically what I have seen that it has now become a little bit more down to earth, because at the first option we've had the superhero-like film, but right now we have seen a more human film, and I have a little bit different level of trust to the character, to the protagonist that I see, because the very first time I have seen that I was slightly scared, because you know the person who would like to get treatments from depression, the person will not take 3 cameras on a trip. But right now it has a very different point of view and very different flair to that, and that's a really good thing that happened. I really like that there is already a good discussion emerging of what should we do with our documentary films, because I have heard to those conversations for 30 years in a row, and they're still just where they were. When the technology is changing, but the ideas are still the same. All my life I've had these questions like, what can I watch your films? And I cannot answer them for this 30 years in a row. But we have this lady, a really nice lady from Suspilna, I guess, and she has answered that directly. So like all of the answers were there. She has given you all of the answers. She's waiting she's waiting for a bit of stranger. She's waiting a direct answer, a harsh answer for all of us, for us to get a nail into the brain. The author documentaries, they're not making those nails into the head. They're asking this really harsh, significant, important questions that we all live with after we have seen the film. So the same thing about a very tragic, comical portrait of the society, which is the film We. The same thing, the film on Sophia and Anton, they're just the same. They're only posing those questions. They're leaving those questions open. So basically, all of those projects, documentary films, it's not the main task for the documentary films to give you all the answers, but this is what is needed for the television. And I always wanted to call this Suspilna television as just as stayed out the UT1 as it used to be the first state channel. That's not the main tasks of the documentaries. The documentaries are showing the ambiguity, and I think that maybe we should search for some new films, new forms for television, because I have no faith in television. I have no faith in television, not the commercial television, not the public television. In order to build BBC in Ukraine, where I'd have to build UK here, first of all. I have no other options. I believe there are different ways and forms to show documentaries to a broader audience. But just for us to be sure that the television is going to show us, no, that's God forbid for it to start showing us, because it's a very different product in the end. So basically what I really liked was all on a very good professional level. It was all very professional, and I think that was a very nice audience overall today for our pitch and for our today's conversation, because basically, even though Dima Tezlov has said you should apply for the state films agency pitchings, and I do believe that maybe yes, you should, but in my point of view, I do believe that right now it all has been turned to an absolute staging, so whatever that has been going on there. But what I'm really happy that we have those platforms and those projects emerging as the DocLab that we are here today, and I still have faith in author documentary films, and I believe it has future. Thank you.
Thank you. If I may, I would like to add one more comment, the last one. I totally agree with Sergei that we could hear those comments so often when I assessed the projects, that we don't need the answers from the filming crew, from the film director. We need the questions to be posed. And how the viewers, when they leave the cinema hall, they should find their own answers. That's what I'd like to add. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Evgenia. I totally agree. Hanna, we don't hear you. Would you unmute yourself? I'm just saying that maybe I need to respond. Well, of course, I don't want to argue with Sergei in any case. It's just impossible to imagine. But what's important here, I've had a bit of the categorical statement. The question which Svetlana is searching for is very relevant for me, for my family, for all of the people who are surrounding me. This is the question without the answer. It's too complicated. It's interesting which answer Svetlana would like to find for herself. Yeah, okay, got it. Got it. I would like just to add, Gunnar is now on the territory of the so-called Lugansk People's Republic. Are you in Lugansk? Yes, I am. So for her, it's a personal question. And we need to respect the opinion of each other.
Звісно, що не буду
Well,
ніколи
of course, I will never argue with the documentalists who are working in this topic because I'm just a journalist. And of course, you know how the film and the cinema should develop. But I can only say from the perspective of the TV and the viewer, the spectator who is asking us why it is done like this, not any other way. I can express my own opinion. You can listen to it, you can criticize it, but please bear in mind that the viewers are still posing those questions. Life is hard, and the answers will be different for each person. We are working in different genres. Some films are provocation for thoughts, to think on something. Maybe it's just a kind of a reflection. So this discussion should go on. And the main issue is not only in documentaries, but it's also in the auteur movies as well, which is sometimes the totally feature full-length films or experimental films. It is not shown on the Ukrainian TV at all. The Ukrainian viewer cannot even imagine that it exists, that there are some of the more sophisticated dimensions, that you can always explain everything and make it in order, and there is the light in the end of the tunnel. No. Sometimes when you watch the documentary, the reflection is going on. The search for an answer is going on, and maybe you find it in the end of the day, maybe you don't. That's what we need to speak about. This is the issue of culture. And it would be nice if Suspilne TV, the TV channel, should begin this discussion on its own. If you announce about some competitions, we exist in some parallel galaxies. You say that you don't announce the budgets, it's not nice. The thing that you don't pay for the films is not nice. That you're not the part of the co-production is not nice. Well, I need to answer, no, you cannot be responsible for all of that. But this is a huge circle of issues we need to work on. Well, I think this discussion exactly, and that you mention all of those points at all of the platforms, and that the meetings with Suspilne TV is already the beginning of the solutions, of finding the solutions of the issues which you'd like to change. That from our behalf, we are doing something wrong. We will fight and beat up Makarov. Well, the thing is that unfortunately Mikael has only 5 minutes left, so I'd like Mikael to add some more words about our lab, about the cooperation with us, about the projects. And it was so pleasant to spend those 2 weeks with you, Mikael. You have become the part of our family, and we cannot imagine how we live without you. This is true.
Thank you very much, Nadia, for those kind words. Well, you know, to the film teams, I feel that I have been talking from morning till night for the last 2 weeks, so I don't think that you need a lot more talk from my side. I can only repeat it has been a big pleasure, and just one detail, and that is that when you are meeting with film people from a film environment and from a culture that you know very little about, it's on the one hand very interesting to get that insight, but it's also very difficult because there are so many things that you know about that I don't know about. So that I just want to mention that I feel that a lot of our discussions, sometimes they are on filmmaking, but sometimes they're also about things in your culture that that is specific for you and that I have no background to understand. It is very interesting to get that insight. So thank you very much for that. And thumbs up for documentary future in Ukraine. I'm so sorry I have to leave. I will see you around.
Thank you very much. Thank you. See you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mikael.
Thank you very much.
So I think at this optimistic note, we need to finalize our pitching, and we will go on with our discussion then, because we rouse lots of important issues, but we can't solve them in a day, in an hour, in a week. This is the moment which has to go on, and this conversation has to go on as well. So now, those who are in the House of Cinema, I do invite you to join us here beyond the air. And those who took part and participated online, I am grateful for your interest and support. And I do hope to see you next year, that we will have more partners and more interesting projects. And those projects which we're pitching this year will be at a different stage of development. Maybe they will be even at the final stage. I'd like to see that as well. I do wish all of the projects success in their development, and for you to find your own way to the viewer, to the audience, not to solve all the issues, but to find your own way in the solution, in the finding of the solutions. Have a good day. I was so happy to see all of you. Thank you. Thank you. UkrDocLab happened.